It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. She is a woman of great distinction who wears many hats in service to her vision. Like you, she is dedicated to empowering her community. Queen Quet is the first elected Queen Mother, official spokesperson, and chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I ask that everybody would now turn off any cell phones or anything that might make a noise. Queen Quet founded the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, which serves to advocate for the preservation of its remarkable and celebrated culture. A visionary leader, she was the first Gullah Geechee person to speak on behalf of her people before the United Nations, and she participated in the United Nations Forum on Minority Rights. She has won numerous awards, far too many to say here, from many agencies, including the inaugural Living Legacy Award from the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. She has also won the National Black Her Story Award and the Preserving Our Places in History Lifetime Achievement Award from the South Carolina African American Heritage Commission. So please join me in standing for Queen Quet, chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation.
Don't you get weary. Walk together till don't you get weary. Great time meeting in the promised land. We gotta walk and never get tired. Walk and never get tired. Walk and never get tired. Great time meeting promised land. So walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Great time meeting in the promised land. But how many children do it? Put a buckeye and things like that. How many children do it? Oh, man, but one of 100 children finding you. Great! God, I tell you the truth. I can start praying now. So all the fineness going all around the room and things like that. Because we understand I am the land of the Ariels, Gladiator, people, and things like that. So and I hear this, I've been a kind of the Buckeye and things like that. And I studied with them. And I said, well, you know where other day got plenty hunters and things there. So I hear that one buck. I hear them all through the hunting season. So I've been wondering if the buck been the man or the buck been the deer. But the buck up yonder in the tree. So I said, well, great God, what kind of thing is it? I said, but I got to be once with some people who should be glad to see me and things like that, because that's what we have, a tree. But human bodies are inextricably tied together because it'll work together. So I know if you're up here and things like that, I don't know, crack your teeth like that, it's your tongue. I know y'all speak more like this up here, right? Yeah. Don't be scared. So yes, in the land of the Buckeye, I talked all about you, and none of y'all agree that you were Buckeye. What kind of thing is that? So yes, it was so intriguing to me to find out that the buck wasn't a dude, all right? And the buck wasn't that y'all were like a bunch of hunters running down the deer. But that the buckeye was actually the center of the seed that grows to create this powerful tree that is so powerful that if anybody even tries to nap on the thing, if you try to eat it, it will kill you. But it will give you shade otherwise, and that's the things that often happen when we talk about developing communities. There can be some shade thrown at you. Because that word develop means so many different things in different circles. And you all are sitting the way we like to do in the Gullah Geechee Nation, at circles so that we can engage with one another. One can look in one another's eye and things like that and see what is going on. So see, I said to Kwame said, well, you going to stay up there? I said, you know me. I'm going to go with the Spirit leading. I said, so I know if I can stay up there. I don't think so. Because I like to see in the other recital eye, you know what I'm saying? And so when you're there in a community and things like that, you can't really see in a community if you ain't got nothing in common. You know what I'm saying, sister? Okay. So for me, the word community always means it unifies you what you have in common. So if I don't cheer for the Buckeyes, me and you might not get along with it. So we might not have that in common. But if we say we want quality education, anybody here now in agreement? We want poverty eradicated. Anybody here not in agreement? Because you know, I feel like the church, I don't want to be remiss by us omitting anybody. You know how we say that, right? Has anyone been omitted? Right? Because we talk about better housing. And housing that is really affordable, meaning your paycheck can handle that bill, right? And you still have a little something left over. I don't think anybody in this room would be in disagreement. Even if you got a multi-million-dollar bank account like the people I'm sitting up front with up there at PNC. It won't hurt to keep a couple of them extra dollars to yourself, right? Okay. So now, if any of y'all who don't mind giving away your extra dollars, my table is at the front. You can feel free to leave it up to me. Because we can take it back and continue the work of sustaining and maintaining community. Because that is what I don't often hear attached to the word development. But anybody in here old as I am, that you remember when you took a photo, it wasn't something you could look at right now and see what it looked like? Right? You took the photo, and then what did you have to do? Take it to get developed. Because there was a process that had to happen. And there were specialists in that process. They had things we call a dark room. I'm being nice to y'all today, because see, normally I would have had Kwame ready set. He would have turned the lights on just now for me. But you know, y'all might have got stirred again. And I just got to calm down a minute ago, so I don't want to scare you no more. But the dark room is when they would go in and that specialist would take their time. You weren't getting no pictures back tomorrow. So when it came out that you could go somewhere and get pictures in 1 hour, what we rushed in there paying all that money? 1 hour photo service, right? Now, y'all would say, I ain't paying nobody to develop no picture. What you better get on Facebook and look at this. I just don't post it. We're going to bring the pictures out. We try to have a sustainable environment. We don't be using all that paper no more. What are we killing them trees for? We from the Buckeye State. We love our trees. Don't be chopping no more trees now. What's wrong with you? Right? But that's how things have developed over time. Communities have changed their focus. Waste is not a good thing, but we all have done it. We've wasted time, we've wasted energy, we've wasted resources over all of our lifetimes. But now you're in a different place and your mindset has developed that you say, well, I need to do something to give something back, not only to the people who are here, but to the next generation of people as well. So many of you who might be in here today, you might be here because simply to tell the truth, you sponsored the event and so they gave you a table to eat and you came for lunch. All right? You might be here because, well, I don't really know what these folks do. And I'd love to find out. Some of you might say, well, you know, they gave me a job and you just talked about that paying them bills, queen, and I got to do it. So I work here. But is your heart here? And that's what makes the difference. You cannot unify with people or have anything in common with them when you don't have the same place that your heart sits. And so here we have wars over words, and we have wars over blocks, and we have wars over land and water and resources because people's hearts aren't in the same place about it. That we all share these resources, and that it is a right of everyone to have a high quality of life. So here it is, that when we talk about communities developing over time, some of them develop by destroying other communities. So where I live on the Sea Islands, the Gullah Geechee Nation exists from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. We literally live in the Atlantic Ocean, that place where them things keep swirling. And even while I've been here, I've been checking to see because there's somebody named Leslie out there spinning right now. We call hurricanes. But I felt good that I had to really tolerate Leslie today. And I had to deal with her. And when I walked in here, there was a man greeting me named Nate. Then Nate came up and introduced a man who used to work for y'all, tell y'all vote him out about an hour ago, named Steve. And I said, well, okay, God always know what God's doing, because I got cousins named Nate and Steve on the island holding it down, so this is a good sign. I got family spirits up in here with me. It's the same thing. Come on, man. So here it is. In our community, Nick, Steve, and all of we done yet that thing, said people coming in called developers. Come on, man. So we thought they want a clear picture. Like we would get, you know how I used to shake that Polaroid? Remember, that was the one before, at next, right there, that next step up. We was in high cotton when you shook that Polaroid, and you had the picture right there. But sometimes it wasn't good. And you have to get everybody back together. Y'all, come on back, stand there, take the picture over, because that one ain't look right. And you could shake it again. Then you said, let that oil look good, let that one dry. Let it sit there. Now here it is. I want you to sit with the concept that when somebody else says the word develop, a development, that it indicates to us bulldozers coming in to tear down the very things that our ancestors and our elders built. So of course when we hear community development, shut, ears shut, we have nothing in common with you. Because you are destructionaires to us, not developers. So then you go, well, no, not them. We the community ones. Well, how we know that? We see my truck and said CDC. We thought you was from the government, the federal department. We ain't sick. We don't need the CDC here. Go on back. No, not them. We're not the Center for Disease Control. We're the Community Development Corporation. Okay, so we all know. So I'm sure you're laughing because some of y'all have had to explain. What's this idea on you? And when you start working for the government? Well, it would be bad if government officials really worked for the community. And we really had something in common with most of them beyond being just human beings. That they were looking for the same things we wanted to grow, like them seeds that we plant and get that beautiful buckeye or that big live oak that's going to give us the kind of shade that protects us from the heat coming in, especially as the world gets more and more intensely hot because of climate change. I think we need to change the climate of those who we often look to legislate that which we're fighting for. Because if they had done their job since 1964, when the act came about that created these groups that became community development corporations, we wouldn't have to still be in here now, and that over 50 years. What are they waiting on? Right? Yeah. Come on now. So I've spoken with, we have the South Carolina Coastal Community Development Corporation right on my home island, St. Helena Island. So when they said, CDC wants you to come speak to them, I thought it was going to be right in South Carolina. And they said, no, the one in Ohio. Well, great God, for true. I said, sure, I'll go back to Ohio. Been 20 years since I've been there. I don't mind. They got money. They said, they got money because they got the banks sponsoring them. I didn't know I was going to come downtown and look around, and everywhere I looked bank. I said, oh, that's why they told me, oh, they got money. But now, people often don't realize that you can have all the money in the world, but it's not about having it, it's about what you do with it. That's going to make the difference. So to have people invest and actually working with a community group to say, no, we're not coming in with a plan for you to displace you. We're coming in with a plan to work with you to actually put together things and place things here that will improve your quality of life and allow you to still be able to afford to live there when we leave. And that's the work we're supposed to be doing. But is your heart in it? That's what I'm talking about. Okay? Is your heart in it? So now I take it from that reaction that some of y'all agree with me that we can't say that for everybody. And the church people, y'all ever heard this statement? If all hearts and minds are what? Together or clear. That's the one we usually hear. And we done told preachers stop saying that. Because you know plenty foggy people in the church. That's why they can't in the church. Stop saying if all hearts and minds are clear, we can bring the benediction because we'll never go home. So stop. Right? But we would like clear and clean hearts on issues like this that are affecting the entire world. So much so that it was easy for me to prepare to speak here today. Because all I had to do was look. I looked at your website, thought I was going to find some long mission statement and I would incorporate that in my talk. And I saw one sentence. I said, okay, thanks a lot. I said, but it can be that simple. You got one thing to do. Let's get it done. But how long has it taken? So I decided to check on that. And I couldn't find a really concise history of CDCs, but what I did find was that in 1967, a place that I had gone in and out of repeatedly in Brooklyn, New York, actually was a CDC. I never knew that, never heard that. I have gone to the Billie Holiday Theater and supported plays in there. And everyone in the community says, this is Restoration Plaza. I've gone to the Pathmark, shopped for groceries there when in New York. And people just say, yeah, you was at Restoration. But not realizing Restoration was a community development corporation. And the first one to ever be incorporated, and bless you, in the United States.
That's right.
So I said, God had to orchestrate this. That they sent me to Ohio to learn something I didn't learn in the Big Apple. But I'm going to take that apple and sit underneath this buckeye tree and see what with the community while I'm there. So here it is. I found that really intriguing. That I'd worked with so many community groups and organizations up there, and they don't know what they were restoring. And didn't know that they developed that organization to put those things in the heart of Bed-Stuy because of the poverty that was there, that was supposed to be being eradicated. And instead of eradicating the poverty and keeping the people there, what instead has happened is gentrification, which has been pushing the people out.
Yep.
So in the Gullah Geechee Nation, people don't often use the term gentrification, they use the term development. So that's why people have a hard time becoming members of a development corporation where we are. So I was proud, and I'm going to go around bragging, that the day that I keynoted, they broke the record for the sponsorship and attendance at the Ohio CDC annual conference. I like to be with women. So the fact that the jockey was even at my table and he was winning, I thought that was a good thing. I don't normally play the lottery, I might play it today. And when I win, I'm going back in your CDC and the one on my island too. So y'all better hope I win. I might get a scratch off too. That's what it's called, right? Scratch off. Get me a scratch off and play the Powerball or whatever y'all be playing. All right? So here it is. Then I say, well, you know, people have gambled with our future for a long time. Because somebody said, the federal government gonna give you some money to do it. So they use terminology that may not mean the same thing to you as it means to them, bless you. But then we all get in a loop of things that don't end up developing into what we want to see, and the picture gets real blurry. And we ain't happy with it. And then we got to figure out how do we do, like I said, with that Polaroid, get everybody back together, and let's shoot this over. Let's do this again. So here it is today. I thought about it and I looked around and I Googled a little bit just to see what would come up every time I asked about CDCs. The words advocacy came up, education came up, empowerment came up, and housing just kept coming up over and over and over. So I said, that's interesting. I said that all those things come up, but yet there's no concise history of CDCs. And maybe as a business owner, I said, well, maybe they got too many elements they deal with. It's not focused enough for anybody to grasp enough to make it concise, or is it because every community has different issues? Every table here is a different circle, and there might be something else that empowers you in one place that might feel like disenfranchisement in another place. You see? So when someone else said to us on the way here, the condominiums were so pretty downtown, I had to hold my mouth. Because where I'm from, they sure wouldn't be considered pretty. They would be considered tools of our displacement. So sometimes when we go into communities, we can't assume that the language and the behavior that we have is automatically what that community is going to agree with. Because that circle is not the same as your circle. So we have to respect that if we're going to deal with all these things. So I thought about it some more and I said, well, I need to know who sent these people to do this work in the first place. And that's when I found out that it all came about because of the Economic Act of 1964. Many of y'all might not even realize that that act said it was to authorize the formation of local community action agencies as part of the war on poverty. The U.S. President Lyndon Johnson had declared a war on poverty. Well, in the U.S., there's always some kind of war being declared. Why we got to be going to war all the time? Why can't we peacefully come together and agree that there's some work that we need to be doing? And maybe that's what the issue is. Because if I roll up on you, my brother, if I just ran up on you, you ain't gonna be smiling like you smiling at me now. All right? So when we hear war, don't we already get defensive? Yes. Right? Or protective? Some people get scared. Right? Mm-hmm. So we hear war, and some people just get catatonic. Mm-hmm. They do nothing because they're waiting for the bomb to drop. So we need to stop using terms like that, war on everything. All right? Peace building would happen when we realize that we're all working for a common goal, because again, we get unified by it. But if you say you're going to war with me, then I might have to, work with my hunters a little bit if y'all get my drift.
Come on now.
So now, here it is that I thought about your theme. Building communities how?
Together.
How?
Together.
Some of y'all ain't read the thing yet, and it's right on your booklet. Building them how? Together. But that didn't exemplify togetherness those first two tries. But thank you. I love baseball. Y'all didn't strike out on the third one. I'll let you slide into base. All right. So now, building communities together takes action. So didn't I just say that law back in 1964 called for what? Action. So these CDCs are supposed to be active. That means that we should see you doing something. See you doing something. Not hearsay, you might maybe supposed to be doing something. I can see what you're doing. And I should be able to figure out for the time y'all were formed back at what year? Don't make me say it. 1964. But no, what year was this particular group here for?
1984.
1984, right? 1984. So from 1964 to 1984, how many years was that? 20. I hope my mathematicians at the bank had got that right. Come down there and help go over your books if you didn't. So 20 years, 2 decades. That's one person's lifetime. That's when you say you grown, you gonna move up my house. Come on. I know some of y'all say I did that when he was 17. But really, 2 decades it took for Ohioans to say, we got to get on this mission here. So look at how much time had already been wasted. From 64 to 84, for people to say, hey, we need to do this too. So we're going to talk about some places where there are still no CDCs, and there haven't ever been any incorporated. So you are still ahead of the game. So here it is though, while you're playing this game, because y'all Buckeyes, y'all big on gaming. While you're playing this game, let's win. Let's don't be up here waiting to might maybe could have kind of get somebody on the team where we might bring a trophy. No, let's bring it on home. Go ahead. So that we can go on and have a big old party in this ballroom next time and say we can retire all CDCs because we've accomplished what that 1964 Act said.
Come on now.
So,
come on now.
So anybody ever heard this terminology? Think globally, but act locally. Also, play me on the tiller on yet today. I'm glad for that. That's okay. Y'all did better than when I asked you what your theme for the day. So now, here it is that I'm on a world tour. It is the Gullah Geechee Save the Sea Islands World Tour. And so I've been going places and will continue to go places to raise funds. Like I said, we live in a hurricane zone, so I was just asked about that, whether we were affected. Yes, the Gullah Geechee Nation is where the eye of Florence hit. Okay, it didn't hit the island I live on, but north of us and into North Carolina, and then now water's trickling back down into South Carolina. It still was rising till the other day, and people are now having to figure out how do we rebuild and how do we get relief after the storm, the flooding, but now also the pollution and contaminants that came in upon the people because some other destructionaires thought it was more valuable to have businesses that were not environmentally sound right along waterways, and now this storm has caused coal ash and a nuclear plant and all these things to fail, and that stuff's now in the water. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with mutant mosquitoes that they now have found that are 3 to 6 times the size of the normal mosquitoes we have? How do you deal with that? And what is it that we might have to really send for the other CDC to deal with after the waters fully recede and these kind of creatures are roaming around and people are dealing with the aftermath? So in cities and urban environments, people will say, well, their pollutants aren't the same as yours, but we've been dealing with the environment because we had factories and we had businesses that once existed, and they too existed along waterways, and that's where our biggest cities were built. And what did we do? We had people that were working out there on the railroad, literally building them tracks that brought people from the south up north here. And now we don't need them, so they're not there. They became dilapidated buildings, and now what happens, that's another condition we got to cover, because the environment won't be safe if the buildings aren't stable. And anyway, if they're destabilized by hurricane winds and flooding, or they're destabilized by people sucking all the money out of the town. So what do we do? And why is that important to you, Queen Quet? You ain't from Ohio, you ain't no Buckeye, you better get on back down here. We be playing games against them. You can't root for them now. Well, I root for whoever to win the team, buddy, in regard to protecting the community. Because I do not only think globally, I act globally, as well as locally. Because climate change dynamics are affecting the whole globe. So how are we now incorporating that in our development plans in communities? So God showed it to me easily last night, after I'd eaten a very nice meal downtown. Thank y'all very much. Because especially the rice was superb, and if the rice wasn't, I was going to tweet bad things about Ohio and rice. Because you know y'all have the audacity to call things iced tea and have no sugar in them, and I'm ready to offend you. So I'm a sweet tea type of girl, so I didn't want to talk about the rice. So y'all redeemed yourselves with that rice last. Y'all did all right. Gullah Geechee is known for our rice now, act up. So the purpose of the act that I mentioned a while ago from 1964, the Economic Act, was actually this. It had some bullet points. It was, number one, to eliminate poverty. How many of you here have heard of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? Just raise your hand. About 1/3 to half of the room. Okay. So that means not everybody here is on that page. Because you never heard of it, you can't be using it. Well, interestingly enough, God said your work will be done in a few minutes because it's real simple. Go to what you've been talking about all year, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And right there, the very first Sustainable Development Goal that we're supposed to be working on globally is the elimination of poverty. So it's the same thing. In the UN and here in Ohio with your CDCs, we have that in common. That's the first thing. The next thing was to expand educational opportunity. That was the next thing in that act back in 1964. Well, Sustainable Development Goal number 4 is to provide quality education for everyone in the world. Okay? Here it is, bullet point number 3. Increase the safety net for the poor and the unemployed. That was what we were supposed to be doing back in 1964. And I think now, somebody give me the stats on it, look it up, or tell me if you know. We may have a higher unemployment rate now than what you had in 1964, if you told the truth. See, I'm a mathematician. The numbers that people look at and put up on the news do not count people who are no longer going out there looking for a job and who no longer get unemployment checks.
Come on now.
So there's more people unemployed than what they report to you now. Everybody ain't starting no small business. So let's not try that. Oh, they ain't looking because they started a business. They on the hustle.
Come on.
Some on the bed.
Come on.
Some on the teething.
Come on.
Okay, let's tell the truth. So if we put the real numbers up there, I think the number might be even higher than 1964, which means we're working backwards instead of going forward. So now with the world, though, they're saying Sustainable Development Goal number 8, we need to have decent work and economic growth. So it's not just about giving someone a job, but how decent is the work that they get to do? And are they able to economically grow from that work that they're doing? Or are they only now wage slaves? Because the money they make gets paid to somebody else just to keep a roof over their head, even if that roof is not really one that's sustainable and is not in the best condition. And we all know a story we can tell about someone who's in that position. Some of y'all in this room might say, Queen, you just stepped on my toe. Because I don't have anything to say. I can't go to PNC without them running me back out there because my car don't work no more. Because all my money goes to rent. I don't have much left, rent and food, and getting transportation back to work to do this all over again next week. But I can't save anything. I can't wealth build. I can't donate to other things in the community, and I don't have the time or the energy to donate that because I'm trying to get a side job so I can have something left over later. So when we talk about these things, we got to adjust over time, like we moved from taking the film out the camera and carrying it to somebody else to the Polaroid we shape to the cameras we got right now, and this thing you carry around your called a cell phone, our personal digital assistants. That's what they really are called in the computer world. You have a little computer in your pocket now. You can look at the picture right away, but is it clear? Is it clear? Because the clear thing is, we don't want to just create nets to catch people in. They're not fish. They're not shrimps. I come from land where we so cast nets by hand. We're not throwing out nets. We don't want people die for buildings and we catch them in nets till we try to save their life. But what quality of life do they have after that? So the real deal is, do we get them in a point where they have decent work so they can economically grow as individuals and as communities, so those communities can be stable? So now, the last bullet point they had was tend to health and financial needs of the elderly. I don't know how come we didn't tend to health for everybody and financial needs for everybody, but this is for the elderly specifically, not even children are elderly. Yes. But the UN Sustainable Development Goals said good health and well-being. It doesn't say for one group. That means for all of us in the world. That's SDG number 3. That's that Trinity number. But now here it is overall as a CDC, especially one that works in both rural and urban environments here in Ohio. You might be interested to know that SDG number 11 says sustainable cities and communities. So we right back in your house. What unifies you? What do you have in common? All right? Because number 17 is about, I guess, why you brought me up here. That you, as we say in the church, one more again, thought it not robbery for having me make this your journey all the way up here, okay? From the Sea Islands, from the Gullah Geechee Nation. It's because it's about partnerships and goals. Because when we have things in common, then we can be partners. When we figure out that you are not legitimately there, your heart ain't in it. Y'all remember y'all boys saying, the OG said, what your body's here with me, but your mind is on what?
Other side.
I'm playing like y'all don't know. Y'all know that group. Just as well as y'all know the group named Ohio. Y'all know the OG. So nobody is going to remain and sustain anything that even we thought was a relationship if we don't think the heart is in it. Right? So we are working together. We're partnering together. We have to be able to communicate with one another. And sometimes that might take me running up on you so you can hear me because you ain't listening.
Come on.
Huh? He said, but I ain't laughing either. He said, I'll laugh until you holler at me. Right? But you ain't mind if I had hollered at you like this, though. You would have still been smile. See, that smile was back there. Right? But sometimes we might get out there, we might get into it, and we might get just as passionate as we do at the game when we're rooting on our team. But it may take all that to make folks realize we might be talking locally, but we're not disconnected from the rest of the globe. So we do have to think globally. And if you can't hear my voice because you think I'm just a little Ohio, maybe I raise it a little louder and you hear that we are with you, that we are working on the same thing, that we can sing from the same sheet of music, that we are here to work together, and we have no intention of getting weary because there's too much work that yet remains to be done. We don't need to go to the 100th anniversary of this act, talk about we still need CDCs. We need to go ahead and give ourselves, I'm going to give you a little benchmark. When your next anniversary come up, let me give you 10 years from now. I'm going to give you one more decade. When you get to that point, you should be at the point to say, we no longer need a CDC. We now are with the world, standing to celebrate that we have achieved the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And they are so sustainable that nobody got to come into no community no more. We all can sit under a shaded tree and enjoy that day together where we can celebrate, we can sing. Our people are healthy, our children and everyone's well educated. The money we make is holding us down. We're not about to get put out. We ain't got to go to no predatory lenders. They don't exist no more because nobody don't need them. And we are going to empower not just Ohio, but every state and then the world. God bless Honor. Keep on working together and stay. share my new cousin Nate. Thank you. And so I appreciate everyone. I appreciate Suzanne Parks for telling these folks up here that I even exist. And the Gullah Geechee Nation is a true place, a real place, not just something you see in a movie. And I do have books here about our history, our culture, and our tradition. And one book in particular I think most of you would be interested in because I'm on a world tour, I'm almost sold out. So I have one with me, but you can order others and we'll ship them back to you because they were being shipped to the island as I flew up here. It's called We Be Gullah Geechee, and it is about cultural collaboration. All right, cultural capital and cultural collaboration. So this is something you might want to see some of the tools we use to continue to work here in Ohio with your communities. But I truly appreciate anybody welcoming me into their house. And so thank you for welcoming me back to Ohio in such a wonderful way. And like I say, I'm going back and bragging on the fact that I'm the one that brought in the money for y'all today.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Queen Quet. So one more time, let's give it up for Queen Quet.